Were I to sign House Bill 68, or were House Bill 68 to become law, Ohio would be saying that the state, that the government, knows better what is medically best for a child than the two people who love that child the most, the parents.
President Trump criticizing the move. The Ohio State House and Senate had already cleared the legislation. The bill would have also barred transgender athletes from participating in girls' and women's sports. To discuss how this could play out in the year's election, let's bring in political strategist and commentator Rina Shah. Rina, good morning and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Nick.
Rina, not a decision I think anyone expected, but you support the governor's decision. Why?
Nick, I find the decision in Ohio to be very practical. Governor DeWine is somebody who's been known to be quite moderate, but what he's done here is not unlike other governors from other states. He's following suit, just like Governor Spencer Cox of Utah. In Indiana, we saw the governor do that there as well, this very same thing, as well as Governor Doug Burgum in North Dakota. Now, these three same governors I just mentioned, they went on to sign revised bills that would ban transgender youth from participating in sports and other such school-sponsored activities that, again, are related to athletic performance. But this is about gender-affirming care. And I realize that phrase is foreign to many folks, even to me. I went to the Human Rights Campaign to learn exactly what gender-affirming care is and isn't. And it refers to a range of services that are everything from mental to social. And what Governor DeWine did here, I believe, protects these youth from becoming second-class citizens in America. None of us should want that. These youth are essentially getting these life-saving services. That's what gender-affirming care essentially does. Now, that does include things like puberty blockers and hormones. But in this decision, it's very clear to me, and should be to many conservatives, that the governor does not want the state to make the decision here. He's allowing parents to make the decisions for their children and relying on doctors. He says he had many conversations that led to him, again, reaffirming that parent right here.
You know, Rina, I think you mentioned it off the top. I think it's the term that sometimes gives people pause because they hear it in a soundbite and they immediately become uncomfortable with what it could mean because it's not often explained. But I do have to ask you, though, could this decision by the governor, could Trump's criticism of antitrust legislation impact his run for the White House?
Yeah, I believe that what candidate Trump is doing now essentially is in line with what he did in his term in the White House. And if he were to earn a second term in the White House, his continuation of policies on transgenders, on transgender Americans, on the youth, and again, on those serving in the military, let's not forget his actions there. They would just be, again, sort of a continuation of the first term's policy. So I don't see the real impact here, Nick, on Trump's candidacy. But it is important to look at who's in the primary field right now, along with Trump. And in the fourth debate sponsored by NewsNation, we heard a lot of talk about, again, this very issue. Nikki Haley has come out, of course, over the course of 4 debates, talking about the role of transgender youth and how they can participate in sports, reaffirming, again, women in sports. But it is Chris Christie that most shares Governor Mike DeWine's views. And he's the one who said, the minute you open the door for the state and you cede this authority to them to make this decision for your child, then that is when you leave the door open, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, on them doing so much more. So Christie really framed it in that lens of parental rights, as well as what control the state should and should not have. And then, of course, we know Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has made many moves also in the state of Florida that are not in line with what Governor DeWine has done in Ohio. And let's not forget, Governor DeWine has critics there in Ohio himself. Senator J.D. Vance has been very critical of him. Previous opponents for the governorship in Ohio have also said this is nonsensical, that a Republican should have signed the bill instead of vetoed it like DeWine did. But DeWine is doing just fine on this because this bill passed both chambers there in Ohio with some good support, and he likely won't get any overturn there in the legislature in Ohio. So again, a very practical decision I see here, Nick, that maybe other states may also follow, because because what I see here is this is about human rights and parental rights.
Rina Shah, a political strategist and commentator, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.